This is just like a personal blog for Ariana N. Picari. Personal news, why I'm now leaving MSNBC. You know why she's leaving? Because of fake news.
Finally. It's refreshing to see someone actually leave, because I mean that's basically what you did, you know, when they were like,
they wouldn't let me leave.
Well, yeah, for a year, but what did you do though?
I mean, I still did work.
Whole year.
I did work, but they didn't like what I was producing.
Yeah.
So I worked for a company that was a joint venture between ABC News and Univision, and they did not like the content I was doing because they wanted to do social justice.
Because it was honest.
No. It's not even that. I went to Fukushima.
I know, it was cool.
Yeah, so I went to Japan and we did this story about, the radioactive, disaster, the nuclear disaster. It was a clever idea. I was like, the idea I had for a good documentary series was to take a look at video games and movies that have concepts and then produce documentaries around the concepts. So you have like a nonfiction version that explores the ideas. So when Fallout 4 was coming out, I was like, why don't we go to Fukushima? We'll call it Fallout from Fukushima. And then when everyone's really excited about this video game, we'll have like hey, here's the real world. You can learn some, facts. And it worked out really well.
Yeah, it was a good series.
So the interesting thing about it is not political. They didn't like it. They wanted woke politics, and I didn't want to do it.
I want those clicks, baby.
Well, I don't. It wasn't clicks. I was getting clicks. I was getting more views than like basically anybody at the company.
Oh.
And they even told me that. The president of the company said, you get more traffic than anyone else here. And I was like, then why won't you listen? They were obsessed with embracing far left intersectionality and feminism.
Wow.
And I could only speculate as to why based on what I was told by their consultants. So the consultants may be the end all be all, but it was basically them. They believed that in the next several years, this country will be entirely intersectional. Seems like they weren't entirely wrong, though the company couldn't succeed in actually generating any kind of buzz. But they believed within the next 5 to 10 years or so, this would be it. The entire country would be woke, and therefore you must be woke now to get in early to win.
Wait, hold on. What happened to them? Didn't they go broke?
Oh, yeah, they went super broke.
That's
all that money just gone.
Yep.
Well, take a look at this story. Let's actually read. So I'm not familiar with who Ariana Picari is, but she writes, quote, just quit. That's the advice Alec gave a year and a half ago when I expressed concerns about my job. You just quit. It's that simple. Stay at MSNBC at least until the midterms, Jeffrey said a couple years back. He advised to watch and see what happens. Hang in there. You're needed, Elizabeth recommended last winter. I was in your shoes when I was younger, but I stuck it out. A year and a half ago, simply quitting my job without knowing my next step sounded pretty radical. So I stuck it out a bit longer until we were in the middle of a pandemic to make a truly radical move. July 24th was my last day at MSNBC. I don't know what I'm going to do next exactly, but I simply couldn't stay there anymore. My colleagues are very smart people with good intentions. The problem is the job itself. It forces skilled journalists to make bad decisions on a daily basis. You may not watch MSNBC, but just know that this problem still affects you too. All the commercial networks function the same, and no doubt that content seeps into your social media feed one way or the other. It's possible that I'm more sensitive to the editorial process due to my background in public radio, where no decision I ever witnessed was predicated on how a topic or a guest would rate. The longer I was at MSNBC, the more I saw such choices. It's practically baked into the editorial process, and those decisions affect news content every day. Likewise, it's taboo to discuss how the rating scheme distorts content, or it's simply taken for granted, because everyone in the commercial broadcast news industry is doing the exact same thing. But behind closed doors, industry leaders will admit the damage that's being done. Quote, you're going to love it. You guys ready for the nuclear bomb?
Yeah.
We are a cancer and there is no cure, a successful and insightful TV veteran said to me. But if you could find a cure, it would change the world.
It's easy. It's the easiest cure in the world. You just stop watching. You stop watching. Everyone stops watching them. Everyone realizes that they're fake. No one's going to go. Their ratings will die.
Look, MSNBC and CNN are as fake as they can get.
Yep.
But people are addicted to this stuff. They believe it. They trust it. And they grew up being told Fox News is fake news. Fox News is biased, for sure, but their daytime news stuff is actually really good. And I've heard journalism professors say this stuff, but the left can't accept it. They've been wrapped up into this resistance insane mindset. And this is what you get. You get people who exploit this, and they grow and they become powerful. Now, to be fair, if you look at my content, it is absolutely hyper-focused. A lot of the stuff we talk about is, very political. It has its bias and everything. But there's a big difference between, for my content, a dude who reads the news and talks about his opinion and tries to make sure, I'm telling you what I think is reasonable and honest to the best of my abilities as kind of a, independent, left-leaning, kind of person. And then you have, for this show, a small group of people just opining on cultural issues and politics and talking about the election coming up. When you compare those things, the big difference to, like, say, MSNBC is an editorial boss who says, no, I know you care about that story, Adam. We're not going to run with it because it's not going to do well for the show.
But I want to talk about space.
But we're going to talk about space. So that we actually have SpaceX ready,
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, like, SpaceX and stuff. And there have been segments we've done. I can't remember which segment we didn't do all that well. And it was because something we wanted to talk about. But that's the thing. When you're an individual and you're like, here's stuff I care about and I want to talk about this, and people like listening to what you say about these certain topics, you'll do well. But then if you look at YouTube, guess what? YouTube, where all of this political commentary exists, is not unified. If you watch, Steven Crowder, you're going to get a conservative opinion. You watch Tim Pool, you're going to get a more moderate opinion. You watch Kyle Kalinske, you'll get a progressive opinion. And it's all under the same YouTube. Imagine if MSNBC was like that. You turn it on at any given point, or you go to their website and you have a bunch of different political opinions. That's what happens when YouTube and Facebook or whatever, I'm not a big fan of these big tech companies, but when they allow individuals to create content, you end up with independent editorial decisions. And I'll talk to people who say they watch me, they watch Crowder and Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore, I think, is a socialist.
He's pretty far left.
Yeah, he is.
He's a socialist?
Yeah.
I don't want to tell him what his views are. I think Jimmy's great. He's anti-establishment. He's pretty far left. But there are people who will watch all of us. That's good for you. If you only watch MSNBC, you're probably going insane.
Yeah.
And that's why this woman quits. Let's read a little bit more. She says, as it is, this cancer stokes national division, even in the middle of a civil rights crisis. The model blocks diversity of thought and content because the networks have incentive to amplify fringe voices and events at the expense of others, all because it pumps up the ratings. This cancer risks human lives, even in the middle of a pandemic. The primary focus quickly became what Donald Trump was doing poorly to address the crisis, rather than the science itself. As new details have become available about antibodies, a vaccine, or how COVID actually spreads, producers still want to focus on the politics. Important facts or studies get buried. This cancer risks our democracy, even in the middle of a presidential election. Any discussion about the election usually focuses on Donald Trump, not Joe Biden. A repeat offense from 2016. Trump smothers out all other coverage. Also important is to ensure citizens can vote by mail this year, but I've watched that topic get ignored or killed numerous times. Wow. Context and factual data are often considered too cumbersome for the audience. There may be some truth to that. Our education system really should improve critical thinking skills of Americans. I'm sorry, Ariana, I don't think they help. I think they hinder, to be honest. But another hard truth is that it is the job of journalists to teach and inform, which means they might need to figure out a better way to do that. They could contemplate more creative methods for captivating an audience. Just about anything would improve the current process, which can be pretty rudimentary. Think basing today's content on whatever rated well yesterday, or look to see what's trending online today.
Well, she did make a good point, though, about that education. She said it really should improve. Not that it doesn't. That's what she's saying. It should. The schooling. So, you just said you don't agree with her, but she's literally saying that schools should improve critical thinking skills. That's what we need. We need more people using critical thinking to handle things.
I guess I should say, to clarify, I don't think schools will work. I'm not convinced that without some kind of radical, absolute deconstruction of the entire system and reforming in a totally radical and different way, I am 100% opposed to institutionalized learning facilities, which separate kids from their parents so they don't learn from their parents, puts them under the care of people who typically don't care about them, and then sends them off to colleges where you got a bunch of radical lunatics who don't actually work in their field.
I agree. The system is messed up. The school system needs, it goes back to unions, really. The teachers' unions are protecting bad teachers, and it's a bad system.
It's so beyond that, though.
Yep.
It's partly rooted in the fact that people use school as daycare.
Yeah, what we were talking about earlier.
So I'll ask you something about college. What would you rather? Let me ask you guys what you think. If someone was supposed to learn how to, run a media business or be a producer in a media company, would they be better served spending all of their time in school and going to college for it, or literally just sitting across the room from us right now, and every time we do a show?
I'm just looking over. You didn't go to school for this, did you?
I did not. No, I
so-
came in and I sat down next to Tim and I learned everything I know from Tim, and it's
Yeah.
been great. Super hands-on, and everything I need to know I learned as I needed to know. It's great.
The point is obvious. You have a lot of people going to journalism school and they're learning from people who aren't actually in the field. You look at these journalism professors on Twitter and what are they? They're far left. They're all far left. And I'm like, they don't even know what they're talking about half the time. Like, I mean, facts. Like, sure, you can give your opinion on, the morality of objective versus subjective, blah, 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 ethics and all that. But do you even know the fact? You didn't do any research. So you have these professors. They've actually called me in to give guest lectures on like methodology and technology and new reporting techniques. So why would you spend money to literally go to a room to learn from someone who isn't working in the field? It makes no sense. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Let's go back to ranting about the media. She says, occasionally the producers will choose to do a topic or story without regard for how they think it will rate, but that is the exception, not the rule. Due to the simple structure of the industry, the desire to charge more money for commercials, as well as the ratings bonuses that top-tier decision makers earn, they always relapse into their old profitable programming habits. I understand that the journalistic process is largely subjective, and any group of individuals may justify a different set of priorities on any given day. Therefore, it's particularly notable to me, for one, that nearly every rundown at the network basically is the same, hour after hour. And two, they use this subjective nature of the news to justify economically beneficial decisions. I've even heard producers deny their role as journalists. A very capable senior producer once said, "Our viewers don't really consider us the news. They come to us for comfort."
Yikes.
Ooh.
MSNBC.
Whoa.
You know what I got to say, though?
Can't stand him.
It's true of everything, though. I'm sure it's true for a lot of people who come to watch us.
Yep.
But all I can really say is look, MSNBC has a boss, and that boss tells the underlings who tell their underlings, these stories don't fly at this network. We talk about what we think is important. We often pull up the biggest stories of the day, and then we literally just give our feelings about it. And often Adam and I will disagree about it. Imagine if in this show I was like, Adam, you got to stop doing that. It's better for the ratings if you just say what should be said instead of what you actually think.
Oh, I'm resisting the urge to give him 2 middle fingers, but I'm not gonna do it.
Nope.
Because we'll get demonetized.
Will they? Will we?
No.
No.
That's a joke, though. That's a
No,
joke.
I don't want people
can't-
clipping that.
All right.
Right. Well, no. So, but look, there's a fair point in that we won't swear because you'll lose money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I am probably overly critical. I get several emails from people asking us not to specifically so their kids can listen in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like
So-
that about it.
So I'll be fair in that regard, but I do think it plays a major role in why I won't swear. Why should I lose? You lose like 70% of revenue when you say one swear word.
Well,
Yeah, some ridiculous amount. So it absolutely does play a role in everyone. But ultimately, though, what I think I want to talk about, I just talk about it. And the same for, what we do versus what they do. I don't think there's a perfect solution, though. I think any company that grows enough will fall victim to this.
Yeah.
I think even if I were to make a massive company, were I to maintain editorial control, I'd be like, no, I don't like that story for this reason. Why are we, wasting time on these certain things? And that's why when it comes to, say, Scanner, which is doing production, I tell them, you do what you want to do. And I think that's the best I can say for as how I'm trying to do things differently to stop this. We've got Scanner, if you're not familiar, and they're off producing stuff. And the most I can do is like, why would you guys do this and that? Huh? Interesting, whatever. But they have full editorial control. I don't. And that's how it's supposed to be. Newsrooms are supposed to be editorially independent for this reason. They're not. She says, personally, I don't think the people need to change. I think the job itself needs to change. There's a better way to do this. I'm not so cynical to think that we are absolutely doomed, though we're on that path. Well, I disagree. I think the media industry is doomed. I'm not, if that's what she means. I know we can find a cure. If we can figure out how to send a man to the moon, if Alex Trebek can defy the odds with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and if Harry Reid can actually overcome pancreatic cancer, he's now cancer-free, then we can fix this. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. She says, I know James Baldwin wasn't thinking about MSNBC when he wrote that line in 1962, but those words spoke loudly to me in the summer of 2020. Unfortunately, many of the same ailments are still at stake today. Now maybe we can't really change the inherently broken structure of broadcast news, but I know for certain that it won't change unless we actually face it in public and at least try to change it. Now, I got to be real. It sounds like she's actually like a lefty Democrat, liberal. Like it doesn't seem to be a fan of Trump. She seems to be into social justice, but she knows the destruction, the damage of this whirlpool of fake news.
You know who she reminds me of a little bit?
Who?
Is Matt Taibbi.
Yeah.
A little bit.
These liberals are
bit,
waking
yeah.
up, man.
Yeah. And they have voices. I appreciate that.
Yeah. She says, though this pandemic and the surreal alienating lockdown, through this pandemic, I've witnessed many people question their lives and what they're doing with their time on this planet. I reckon I'm one of those people looking for greater meaning and truth. As much as I love my life in New York City, and really don't want to leave, I feel fortunate to be able to return to Virginia in the near term to reconnect with family, friends, and a community of independent journalists. I'm both nervous and excited about this change. Thanks to COVID-19, I'm learning to live with uncertainty. And so very soon, I'm going to be seeking you out. Any one of you who also may sense that the news is fundamentally flawed and is frustrated by it. This effort will start informally, but I hope to crystallize a plan for when better, safer days are upon us. On that front, feel free to reach out anytime if you would like to discuss any of this, whether in agreement or not. More than ever, I'm craving full and civil discourse. Until next time, thank you for reading, and I wish you all well, Ariana.
That's so great.
You know what's interesting? Civil discourse. That's what she's wishing for.
Yep, exactly.
Bill Maher recently ran a segment where they were wishing for civil discourse. They were complaining about the far left cancel culture, and now we're starting to see more and more. So I know Bill Maher has called us out, but we're starting to see more and more people are challenging the far left, the anti-discourse narrative, and they're challenging how the media is fueling into this. So bravo to her. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.